Hey, hour number 2 coming your way. Another edition, another hour of About Your House, heard right here at Fox Sports Charlotte every Saturday, 9 to 11 a.m. Download the free app, stream it live anywhere on the planet. YouTube Live, Facebook Live, every Tuesday at noon. Join us as we have a live broadcast podcast here from the Toolbox. I got Brian Morehouse in studio with me. Good afternoon, Mr. Morehouse. I hope you're doing well. And he's with S&N Infrastructure. And what are we hearing there? Nothing? Kevin, everything okay on the sound over there?
The sound is great, just looking on video here. It seems to be freezing up.
So we're not on video.
We're not on video, but we're on sound.
We're live on podcast. Brian, thanks for coming in. Hour number 1, a little shaky with technology, but we made it.
That'll happen.
Yep, it happens. So here we go, trying to stream live on YouTube Live, Facebook Live. Here again, technology. We're good. Are we good to go, folks?
Yeah, this camera's working right now, you guys.
Okay, so we're looking at that camera. Okay. Technology's great, but getting all these bugs worked out in the top drawer outfit's tough to do. But this hour we're going to talk about, what's on everybody's plate these days? Winter weather. Winter weather. Brian, how does this weather affect you? I mean, I imagine there's one sector of y'all's crew is out doing recovery.
Yeah, facility operators that will get in touch with us and ask us, to be on standby for any kind of damage they may have. So it's kind of a waiting game. And luckily this weekend, as you saw with Duke Energy, they did a fabulous job getting people in from all around different areas. I've seen bucket trucks from Hoosier, which would be Indiana, Florida, different areas. But they were really staged properly and here to be able to make sure the power was staying on within our communities and those meters were spinning and keeping us warm.
Well, I was a little fretful there, about losing my power. And you said you got a generator. I received a lot of questions about generators and generator safety, and there's something I want to talk about going into this hour. A lot of people, have a regular old portable generator, and they want to hook it up to their house. First of all, out of the gate, it's a no-no. Don't even try unless you have a correctly installed crossover switch, because you cannot put power back on the lines. You'll electrocute some service guy out there on a pole. You want to talk?
You'll end up having a backfeed on the line that could be pretty bad.
Yeah, and somebody told me the other day too that they could also plug their generator into a receptacle and it would make a circuit hot. Yeah, but you could also put power back on the line, and when you put power back on the line, as soon as it hits that transformer, that 120 volts is going to step up to thousands of volts. Am I right or wrong?
Mm-hmm.
And that'll definitely kill somebody. So, folks, bottom line is, if you don't know what you're doing with a generator, don't do it. You got to be safe with this stuff. And a lot of people have asked me, Ray, can I do this? Ray, can I do that? I know how to do it. But nobody should be attempting that doesn't know what they're doing or have an electrician, certified, licensed electrician to help you and facilitate that movement.
You're exactly right about that. A lot of incidents do happen from generators and people not understanding what they need to do with cutting the main breaker off, being able to hook their generator up. So please just be safe out there. We don't want to see anything happen. And, I know that the utility companies will be working as hard as they possibly can to get the power back on.
Did we lose a lot of power in this area? Do you know anything about numbers?
Say it again?
Did we lose a lot of power in this storm?
From the numbers that I saw, and this was, just off of the internet and everything, there was widespread damage, not as bad as they anticipated. And again, this is all me reading this off of the internet. I don't have no formal data or anything like that. But I understand that Tennessee got hit pretty hard with about 275,000 people out throughout their regions.
This was a catastrophic storm. There are people that are without power. There are people without heat, without food, with water floods. It was just across the country. There was tremendous amount of hardships incurred over this storm.
And we're really lucky it didn't hit our area as they were anticipating. At one point in time, I think we were supposed to get around 17 to 20 inches of
when
snow.
the numbers first came out,
That
that's
would have
what they
knocked
were
us
saying.
out.
Yes, it would have.
Whew.
And not too good. But we made it. All right, let's talk about next week, because guess what? They're calling for another front to come through here. Are you prepared? If you didn't learn anything, you should have learned from this episode. And I want to talk about the cold and how it affects people. Cold is brutal. Cold is a lot worse than the heat ever thought about being. Wouldn't you agree?
I'll definitely agree with you on that. We saw that, last year when we lost power during the hurricane. You could at least live a little bit, cook out on the grill. I live over in Shelby, North Carolina, so we just had a brush of the hurricane come by us, but we could still manage. And I can't think about being able to manage when it's cold outside and you don't have no way of heat, whether it be having a generator, hooking up some heaters, or maybe having natural gas. So it's very hard on everybody when the power goes out in the wintertime.
One thing I want to caution people about is how to stay warm safely. You'll find people dragging in propane heaters, propane stoves. Never bring, being cold's brutal, and it'll cause you to do certain things for survival. I get that. Survival mode when it's cold is brutal, but also living's nice. I like my life, and I want you to have yours. So let's do it cautiously and safely as we enter the week to come, because they're calling for another snowstorm to come through here. I think it's Saturday, I believe. Isn't that what they're calling for, Saturday? So just be sure you're prepared for it. And another thing, too, if you don't know your neighbors, how about introducing yourself? Y'all get familiar with each other so y'all can be more neighborly, more friendly, and take care of each other. There's one thing that's happened in this country of late, and that's the division. People, we got a problem. We need to get along. We need to figure this thing out. And I'll tell you a big key to that, turning your darn TVs off, and quit paying attention to everything you see on TV.
Now, one of the things that we talked about in the studio earlier was, how long have you went without power in the past during a storm? Mine was a little over a week, and your whole life changes dramatically.
Yes, it does. Are you talking about Hugo?
No, mine was Irene.
Irene?
Yeah.
A hurricane. I don't think I've ever been without power longer than personally. Oh, well, I was out during Hugo for probably 4 days, and that 4 days, so I had gas.
Okay.
So I had natural gas so I could cook, and we had hot water. And believe me, when you're without power and you don't have hot water, that's brutal. So, there again, if you've got gas, typically you won't be without gas unless it's a major catastrophe, where infrastructure in the gas realm is affected. But typically ice storms won't create that.
Right.
So, but yeah, I'd say 4 days is a max. But like I said, I did have gas, which was great.
Well, I feel is you go through something like this and you're out of power for a week, and the linemen and the companies are working very, very hard to be able to get the power back on. And there's a lot that goes into it that people don't quite understand. But just going for about a week, that time I had to go through that, you couldn't do washing, you couldn't use the restroom, different things. It changes your life.
Yes, it does. We take a lot for granted, don't we?
We really do. I don't know if I could have lived back 100 years ago. I'm too used to today's technology and keeping up with everything.
Well, the problem is we're all hinged and so dependent on the internet now. I don't know. We talked about it earlier about priorities. What is it you could live without or could not live without the most? One thing is power, electricity. That's the one thing we definitely take for granted.
Definitely.
Because without power, you got nothing. And that's something that people just need to be aware of. Without power, you got no money. That's right, no money. Electronics, all technology shuts down without power. And gas, no gas. Power, no gas. I mean, lights. I mean, what the things we take for granted is unreal, but let's talk about our heat. Heat pumps. This is the weather where heat pumps just don't cut it. You got a heat pump, don't you?
Yes.
And that thing is on emergency heat most of the
Well, matter of fact, we went ahead and turned it on emergency heat because it got down below 30 degrees for a couple of nights there. Last night, I think it got down to 16. So that heat pump is continuously working. So I thought it would be better just to go ahead and put it on heat strips.
Right. Now, if you don't know what heat strips are, or backup heat, you might call it, there's a little light on your thermostat, right? Yours blue or red? Yours
Mine's
blue.
red.
Okay, when that little light comes on, that means you're pulling maximum power on your furnace. You turn on your heat strips. You're in full mode electric heat, and that's going to cost you. So beware. That's what that is. But that will keep you warmer. But heat pumps are notoriously, back in the day where they first came on the market, they were hated very vehemently because they just didn't put out the heat to provide the comfort you needed. But with today's technology, as a matter of fact, the new mini split systems are fabulous, fabulous systems. And I bring that up because, if you've got air conditioning issues in the summer, your air conditioner just doesn't cut it, just doesn't keep you comfortable. You may want to use a backup mini split in some portions of your house, be it upstairs or whatever, to supplement your air conditioning. You can do it a lot cheaper than replacing your full system. You ever heard of that?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I've actually had one that I ended up putting into my mother-in-law's quarters when my mom came down.
Right.
And it worked totally great. It was awesome. I couldn't believe it. I was kind of against it when we first installed it. I was like, I don't know if it's going to really heat up this room the way I'm expecting it to, but it was amazing.
It worked beyond.
It definitely did.
Beyond your wildest expectations, probably.
And one of the things I want to tell y'all about, I'd love to share the story with you.
Sure.
Being a new homeowner at 22 years old, I'd lived with my parents, got my career established, got on with the power company and everything, and I bought my first house. I was 22.
Awesome. Man, you was way ahead of the game.
And all of a sudden, I was so used to oil heat because my parents had oil back then. Well, oil that's a hot heat. And I moved into my first house with a heat pump. I had three different companies come out. I was calling all these companies going, it's just not putting out enough heat. And, I was just so used to oil heat. It took me a little while to get adjusted to a heat pump.
Right.
But then I understood how a heat pump worked and everything else. And, of course, we had natural gas in the area, hooked up some gas logs, and was able to balance it out.
Sure.
So love my natural gas, and thank you to all those out there that help keep us safe with the natural gas, getting into our homes and being able to provide that for us, because that is very good during these cold winter days.
I want to say this too about natural gas. A lot of people that never have had gas in the past are a lot of fear factors out there. They're afraid of it. Gas is very explosive. Okay, we all know that, but there's so many safety factors involved with natural gas. It's kind of hard not to be safe. In other words, it's a very safe fuel, tried and tested for many, many, many years. And if you don't have gas and you're afraid of it, I would highly recommend it given a chance if you have gas availability in your area, because, well, the heat's phenomenal.
It's wonderful.
It's great. And then you got gas fire logs, you got gas cooking. You can put your gas grill on natural gas. You never have to buy another gas canister. You can use that gas canister outside for cooking if the power does go out. You won't run out of gas, okay? So something I highly recommend. A lot of people, though, out there are afraid of it. And I understand the fear, but it's very safe. And there's an odor in gas that if you smell it, it warns you. and that's why they put the odor in gas, so you can smell it, know you've got a gas leak or whatever. And Piedmont Natural Gas, great company, great provider. And one other thing, too, natural gas is not propane. Propane is propane, and natural gas is natural gas, and they are two different gases. To this effect, if you're on propane, or you got natural?
No, I got natural gas.
If you're on propane and you buy gas range, you have to buy that range jetted for propane, not natural gas. And if you buy one with natural gas orifices, jets, you have to trade them out. And all ranges come with an extra set of jets, and that's what that's for. Thought I'd throw that little tidbit in there. You didn't ask for it, but you get it anyway, But gas, very, very, very safe and very useful fuel for heating your home and cooking and many other things.
And it was really interesting when you said earlier that they put in, it's called McCaptain. And what you can do is you can smell. It smells like a rotten egg.
Yeah.
If you do smell that
Sulfur,
within your
rotten
house,
egg, yeah.
and if you do have that smell, make sure that you reach out to the gas company and have them come out and check everything out for you if you have any type of issues like that.
And they're normally Johnny on the spot too, because they treat that with utmost priority. Believe me, when you fear you have a gas leak, they'll be out and take care of it. So don't worry about that. Just eliminate the fear factor. Be safe, and you'll be more than happy with gas appliances and gas in general. And gas fire logs. Let's talk about that a little bit. A lot of people have gas fire logs. And a lot of people, there's two different kinds. There's vented and non-vented, and various elements you need to know about. One is your O2 sensor.
Mm-hmm.
What do they call that? It's got a name, but it's the O2 sensor on gas fire logs. If there's dust, you know what I'm talking about, where I'm going? If there's dust in that O2 sensor hole, and there's a little hole in it, if there's dust, too much dust collected in there, it won't stay lit. And you say, my fire log's broke, they won't stay lit. Well, that's exactly what's wrong with it. I've talked so many homeowners through that little issue right there through the years. It's unreal. Matter of fact, Kathy Elms called me, one of our earlier board members at the Put Tools in Schools. She called me up one weekend and asked me what could be the problem. Her fireplace logs won't stay lit. I told her, and she got her husband, and I talked to him, and he cleaned it out.
That's all you got to do. Make sure you maintain them. I mean, during the off season, just make sure you keep those clean.
Owens Chimney Systems, they're one of our sponsors again. Owens Chimney Systems do a great job at servicing and maintaining gas fire logs. And also new ones. If you've got 20-year-old gas fire logs, I would highly recommend you checking out possibly what new ones would cost, because they operate more efficiently. And there you go. Just check it out, Owens Chimney Systems. What happened, guys? We lose our feed?
No, we didn't.
Okay, cool. Well, you're confusing me, but that's okay. I'm easily confused. It's okay. Well, let's get back to your attic. I got to talk about your attic. This morning it was 18 degrees. If you have an attic and you've got ductwork in your attic, well, it was cold last night. 18 degrees. That means the temperature in your attic is 18 degrees. That means every time your cycle shuts down when you're blowing out hot air in your ductwork, the air in that ductwork becomes 18 degrees. Does it make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So that means every time your furnace comes on, you shoot out of your ductwork system a nice burst blast of 18-degree air. Yep, every time. So what am I telling you? It's cold in your attic. Now, what can you do about that? If you've ever considered encapsulating your attic, this is a great example of what it could prevent. Or get an attic tent. Now, what's an attic tent? We've only told you about 50,000 times on this show through the years. An attic tent is a little cap. First time you've heard it? No, that's crazy, Richard. You know better than that. But the fact of the matter is, it's a real simple little thing to put over your disappearing stairway. You know what I'm talking about?
Mm-hmm.
See, he knows. Attic tents. But by far, this is a great example of when you need one most, because if you do not have an attic tent or a way of keeping the attic air out of your house, and you say, how's it get in my house? My disappearing stairway's shut. You got a crack around it. Every time your furnace comes on, your heating system, you pull a negative pressure. Means you're sucking air out of your attic into your house. Unbelievable. And that's why your hallways are cold as heck in weather like this. And they're very effective. And I bring it up because they're very effective. And I got to sneeze. Excuse me, please. Normally comes in threes. But attic tents. Now, let's get back to attic encapsulation. If you have a new roof, pardon me, if you have a new roof on your house, you're a candidate for attic encapsulation. Why? Because if you need a new roof, I would not encapsulate my attic with foam, spray foam, open cell spray foam, because every time you put a new roof on your house, anywhere from 5 to 10 sheets of plywood has to be changed. Did you know that?
No, I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's your decking. It goes bad and deteriorates. And I've checked with my resident roofer, Mr. Roger Freeman, Freeman's Exteriors, and he's been roofing now for almost 40 years. And I checked with him, and I said, what's the average amount of decking you have to replace, on homes? He said, approximately anywhere from 5 to 10 sheets.
Wow.
So why does that affect you? Well, the foam insulation will come out where you take the decking off. Okay. So you have to come back and refoam. My point, if you encapsulate your attic, the temperature never goes below 80 degrees. 80 degrees. That means you've got an 80-degree attic. So it never gets colder than 80 degrees. So therefore, look at the amount of comfort you've increased in your home.
Definitely.
Look at the load for heating has decreased. Look at the load in cooling. That's where it really pays off in the summer, because your attic gets up to around 140, 150 degrees. So that means your attic is 150 degrees, 140, 150 degrees. So that means the air in your nice hot attic in that ductwork is 130, 150 degrees. So every time your air conditioner comes on, you get that burst of hot air.
Right.
There are a lot of systems that are working beyond capacity, be it summer or winter. Typically, winter isn't the problem. It's summer, the hot months. But if your attic never gets less than or hotter than 80 degrees, that means your air conditioner is going to work a lot more efficiently and keep you a lot more comfortable. I bring this up because right now is the coldest, and I talked about this 2 weeks ago on the show as well, or was it last week? I can't keep up with them anymore. And by the way, guys, we got to start numbering these shows from day one. Yeah, got to number them. Can we do that? Like 1, 2, 3? No, I'm kidding. On the list. But last couple weeks ago, I talked about that too. But the differential right now is the most it's going to be this year or any season. Like when it gets down to 14 degrees, well, your thermostat's probably set on 70 or around 70. When you set, what do you set your thermostat on?
70.
70?
Mm-hmm.
I shoot for around 73. But most people have a variable between 70 and 74 degrees typically is their comfort. But here's another factor. If you encapsulate your attic, your humidity in the summer is what you fight. You don't fight hot temperature, you fight humid air. So if you've got an encapsulated attic and it never gets above 80 degrees, your humidity has decreased tremendously in your house because you've eliminated that hot, moist air in the attic.
Right.
Now, I bring this up a lot because it is the most affordable way to fix comfort issues in some houses. For example, if you've got a 2,400 square foot two-story house, you're only talking about a 1,200 square foot footprint, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which is a pretty small attic.
Right.
So it shouldn't be any more than $3 to $5 grand to encapsulate your attic. But the return on that $3 to $5 grand is significant.
Over a 20-year period.
Significant
Yeah.
on your power bill and your comfort levels. So that's why I bring it up.
Now, what effect does that have on the shingles or anything like that? Anything?
Now, here's what they don't want you to know.
Okay.
It extends the life of your shingles tremendously.
So now your return on investment's even greater.
And now they say, well, why is that? Because when the temperature in your attic is 150, 140, 130, 140 degrees, and you make it 80 degrees, you've taken the heat load off the underside of that decking.
Okay.
It's a cooler deck.
Makes sense.
Therefore, you're putting less heat in that shingle. Now, once again, I got to tell my story about that. I was on WBT back in the early 90s. And I told this story then in 3M Corporation, who makes the aggregate for shingles.
Mm-hmm.
Aggregates the little granules on the shingles.
Right.
I got a nasty note telling me cease and desist on my information. That was true. How do I know it's true? I put a room addition on a commercial piece of property that was basically a house out on Hebron Street, way back. I put an addition that connected the main office to the warehouse. Okay. In doing so, we had to connect the roofs together. Well, when I was doing the connecting, and I roofed this addition, okay, and we put foam board on it. Now, I didn't expect that. He did.
Right.
Now, who is he? The owner of the building. Well, I was curious about the foam board, the deck foam, but as we tied in, those shingles were amazing. And they were 20-something years old. And those shingles looked like acted new. They weren't brittle. They weren't that worn. They were worn, of course, but I dialed right in, and then I noticed there was decking, foam decking on that roof. So I went in and talked to the man who was the engineer and the owner of the building, Mr. Myers, one of my great mentors of life, a great man, wise man. And he says, I put foam insulation on this when I built it to help insulate the roof because of heat and the shingle life. And I said, it worked. It worked. And that was my first evidence to that fact.
Yeah.
And my brother, when he put a new roof on his house out in Weddington, he put a 2-inch foam decking in. It was specifically manufactured for roof decking. And granted, they had to use longer nails. They had to use longer everything. He put that foam board on there, in reverse. He didn't encapsulate his attic, but he put foam decking over it. His attic temperature went down from 130 to 150 down to 80 degrees. Now, these are facts, folks.
Yeah.
You think I'm crazy. You can do whatever you want to do. You can think what you want. But the fact of the matter is, it works.
Well, back in that day, because I know it's hard to be able to estimate that now with the way building materials
Sure.
are. What do you think the added cost was to be able to do it that way?
I don't know. I'd have to talk to my brother about it. But he was so sold on it because he was with me. We worked together growing up through our career pathways. We worked together until 1990. And he was on that job with me. We were both blown away by the fact of how that foam insulation board being on that roof deck extended the life and durability of those shingles.
So you took a 20-year shingle, made it last 27. There's a good return on investment
Probably
on that.
30, even further.
So you got 10 years extra out of that.
Probably. I'm telling you,
So-
it's a game changer to encapsulate attics and or put foam decking below it. And that's why I bring it up frequently on this show, because it's a fact. Now, later on, 3M Corporation sent me that 7-page go away letter, and it really made me mad because they put a lot of things that required black ink, and they used up all my black ink on sending me this stupid cease and desist letter. Although later on, it came to be true in the industry, and they had to just fess up that, in fact, it is a fact that it will extend your life of the shingles.
Gotcha.
So, but more than that, it will create greater comfort and a lot less wear and tear on your cooling and comfort systems. That, to me,
It's a big plus.
one more story on that note that I've told before. Mr. Davis, I think his name was Steve Davis, bought a brand new house down in near TUK. He was a big-time listener for many years, and matter of fact, spoke to him here about 6 months ago. And he called me up and says, Ray, I got a problem. I says, what's your problem, Steve? He says, my air conditioner will not do the job. Brand new house.
Undersized.
He says, it just will not keep us comfortable. I says, okay. They did a thermal energy test, a heat audit, an audit.
Analysis, yeah.
Yeah, analysis on his systems and all. And it was pushing total capacity. So what was the answer? Get a new system? It's a brand new house. Why don't you get a new system? Brand new house. So I said, I know another alternative. Encapsulate your attic. Foam insulation. He says, really? I said, really? Not only will it solve the problem, but it will extend the life of your system and your roof as a result of it. He says, really? I said, yep, for fact. So he called, I think it was ABS at the time, or it might have been Austin. I don't know, one of the two, either Austin or ABS Insulating. Got a price on encapsulating the attic and pulled the trigger on it. And encapsulated that attic, problem went away. Got great comfort, extends the life of the shingles, a lot less than half of what a new system would cost. No brainer. And it worked. So, folks, that's evidence. I mean, you can say what you want. I don't care.
So that was definitely killing
Yeah.
a bird.
But I highly recommend that you go around and check for leaks, air leaks. Caulking can be a simple solution to a lot of cracks and crevices that create leaks. Thresholds around your doors, the bottom of your door. When you shut your door, you're not supposed to be able to see light underneath it. If that's the case, you got a big issue. Because there again, if you've got forced air circulating heating, every time you turn your system on, if you've got an air return, you create negative air.
So now you're talking about exterior doors.
Yes, sir.
Now,
Exterior
interior doors, you're okay to have.
Oh, you should have.
inch.
You
Yeah.
should have, especially in a bathroom. Now, here's a fact I'm going to just kind of throw out there. A vent fan, bath vent fan.
Mhm.
Some people call them fart fans, Let's be crude. You want to? But you can't pull air from a negative air pressure. In other words, if you go in and shut the bathroom door and you turn the fan on, where's it getting that air from? The room.
Yeah.
But if the room's tight, you don't have a gap under your door, where's it getting it from? It ain't going to get it.
Right.
True story. Guy called me up and says, Ray, got a problem. I said, what is it? He says, my daughter takes showers 30 minutes or more longer, and it steams the shower up and the vent fan don't work. I said, okay, let's try something. He said, what? I said, let's cut the door off another ½ inch. He said, wow, what's that all about? I said, more air movement. And guess what? It worked. Now, it won't work totally with all vent fans because all vent fans aren't created equal. If you get a little old 50 CFM vent fan, that's one thing, but if you step up to an 80, but my recommendation to anybody buying a bath vent fan is get the Panasonic Whisper Quiets at 110 CFM. And now what's the difference? A 4-inch port
Okay.
versus a 3-inch port and more air movement. Much better air movement.
I'm glad you brought that up because in my master bathroom, it's a walk-in shower,
Yeah.
and we got a pocket door.
Uh-huh.
It doesn't have that gap underneath there.
All right.
And I noticed that we get a lot of steam in there, even with the fan on and everything else. So that makes a lot of sense.
If you
about
crack the door, it'll
Yeah.
make a big difference. And better yet, if you put a Fantech inline fan in your attic, and you put a port up there, you're pulling probably 120 to 150 CFM, but you can't hear it. You can't hear it. It works.
Huh.
It's an inline fan, and better yet, if you use flex duct, insulated flex duct, it's a much more efficient vent situation too, because you're literally insulating the ductwork. But those Fantech inline fans, they work fantastic, and they're very popular too. So, and now you can buy them with a fan and light, and you can't even hear the fan when it's on, but it works.
Well, I know everybody in my household is kind of on me because I can get to be a little OCD about certain things, but I'm always big about taking the washer dryer out, trying to clean behind there,
Yeah.
and refrigerator too,
Yeah.
along with the stove. You just don't know what gets up underneath there and have any type of hazard, but they get on me because I'm always cleaning out that dryer vent.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm like, y'all don't realize how important that is. That's the reason I want y'all to always clean the filter. Y'all worry about that along with me when I'm doing extra drying,
Sure.
and then clean out the dryer vent, every 6 months. And I try to do that when the time changes.
That's great. A lot of people are out of sight, out of mind. Probably one of the biggest maintenance issue with any house is your dryer vent.
Mm-hmm.
I had a dryer vent business for almost 20 years.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I started it in the year 2000 and named it the Al Metal Dryer Vent Corporation. And I was the only dryer vent service company in Charlotte at the time. And a few years into it, the Vent Wizard people came in, franchises. And then they had 3 or 4 Vent Wizards stationed everywhere. And then because of me on the radio every Saturday morning talking about dryer vents, other people heard about it, felt like they could be dryer vent whiz-bangs too.
Yeah.
And that's fine because there's plenty to go around. And I talk about dryers and venting dryers a great deal on this show because it's a fire hazard. They don't know for exact numbers, but they estimate around over 20,000 dryer vent fires every year. And how do they know? I don't know, because they don't know. Fire departments don't always know where the fire originated from. But at any rate, now why is a dryer vent a fire hazard? You think we need to talk about that a little bit?
Definitely.
A little bit, okay. Dryer vents are, let me say, closed dryers get a residual lint buildup in the dryer itself, in the cabinet, that you can't see it. Okay. Closed hair dryers. If you ever put your hand over the end of a hair dryer and you can see the element get real hot inside, that's simulating your clothes dryer. Your clothes dryer is no different than a blow hair dryer and moving air across the heat element and spitting out hot air. That's what your clothes dryer does. It pulls air in from the room, approximately 150 to 200 CFM of air, pulls it from the room, it goes through the drum, goes across the heat element. My apologies. Right immediately it goes across the heat element and pulls the heat off the element, blows it through the drum, through your lint filter in your door or in the appliance itself. You've got a screen, little lint filter. You pull and you clean it out after every use. You should. But if your airflow is impeded by too much lint, what happens? The element overheats.
Mm-hmm.
When the element overheats, it might ignite residual lint. And there's your start of a dryer fire. It's a dryer vent fire, lint fire, call it what you want, but it normally starts in the dryer around the vent. Around the heater aspect of it. It ignites lint, buildup. How do you build up lint? You don't keep your dryer vent clean. And by your talking, your vent goes right outside, right behind the dryer.
Yeah.
I knew that because, see, you didn't tell me you got a snake or something like that you had to use. But there are some dryer vents out there 20, 30 feet long, way too long. They're not supposed to be that long, but some are. Therefore, you need to keep it clean religiously and keep some sort of a schedule where you maintain your dryer vent,
What is a good I mean, it's always nice to be able to have your dryer right on the other side of the wall and then have your vent. But what should be the max, in your opinion, of the dryer vent? You said it shouldn't be 20 feet.
The max, I won't say there's a max. There's an
Okay.
efficiency of airflow. You know, for one thing, behind your dryer, flex hose is a culprit. Flexible hose, that little slinky looking silver stuff that, compresses.
Mm-hmm.
Well, if you push your dryer tight to the wall, which I've seen hundreds of dryers that restrict the airflow because it's too far back close to the wall, you've got to maintain airflow. And on that note, if you haven't turned your dryer on and go look for the vent outside, something you need to do, because every household needs to know where your dryer vents to. Because you can go out there, turn your dryer on, and check it. See if you've got good airflow. If you don't have good airflow, you need to figure out why, because you're at risk right there of a dryer fire. Did I answer
That's
your
very
question?
good information.
How far? It just depends on airflow efficiency.
But the shorter, the better.
Yep. And now, how I got in the dryer vent business, I'll tell this story a little bit. I was on WBT, 1110 AM, the powerhouse FM AM station in Charlotte back in the early 90s. And I was on there every week, just like I am on this every week. Well, I got a call from the guy that owned Temp Vent Corporation up in Shelby. You're
Okay,
part of
my
the territory.
hometown.
Yep, Dr. Paul Sarrazin, Temp Vent Corporation. He invented the crawl space ventilation that opens and closes thermostatically.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about?
Mhm.
Well, those have outdated. Those aren't worth what they were built for nowadays because things have changed around comfort and airflow and everything else, but that's another story. At any rate, he invented those. And he listened to me every Saturday and said I could sell snowballs to an Eskimo. That's what he said. So he said, he wanted me to come up and visit him, and he wanted to show me the plant and show me some things and have lunch with me. So he invited me to his beautiful home over at Shelby Country Club. And we went in there, and he says, after we had a nice lunch, he says, let me take you downstairs. I want to show you a video. I said, okay. I didn't know if he was going to get kinky or what on me. But anyway, so we said, okie dokie. So we went downstairs. He showed me a movie of a dryer fire.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a terrible video. Whoever made the video, it was horrible. I'm a critical guy, so I said it was horrible. Well, then he gave me a little box full of stuff, all this big donut-looking thing with all these little nuts, bolts, little strappings, and all. I threw all that mess on the floor, and I started laughing. He says, what's so funny? I said, this is a joke. He says, well, I ain't laughing. I says, well, I'm sorry. And he says, why do you call it a joke? I says, because this does not fix stupid. It encourages it. And he says, what do you mean? I said, looking at all this apparatus, most people won't have a clue on what to do with it.
Right.
And it's not simple. He said, you almost have to make things idiot-proof in this day and time. Well, this is back in the early 90s. But my brain started going to work. And I took what he gave me and then said, well, this would work great on a periscope. Well, what you mean? Then I said, if you put this on a periscope and you had an extension and it went down here in this hole and that hole, he says, well, anybody can get a periscope. I said, no, you can't. He said, sure you can. I said, I'll prove it to you on the way back to Charlotte. So I stopped at 2 appliance places on the way back to Charlotte. They didn't have periscopes. Long story short, I helped invent a periscope, one for an end vent and one for a side vent, and that's the beginning of the Al Metal Dryer Vent Corporation.
I'll be darned.
And when we teamed up together, and he paid me as a consultant to come up with the best methodology of making this device. Well, time passed. He made 1,000 of them. I bought the company from him. He sold it to him because Temp Vent sold out to Certainty Corporation. Certainty didn't want it, sold it to me, and I bought it. And I don't have it anymore. I sold it to the guy I trained for 14 years. And he has the Al Metal Dryer Vent Corporation. And the bottom line is, the reason I wanted to get into dryer vents, I wanted to learn it. I wanted to be good at it and understand all the ins and the outs and the idiosyncrasies behind clothes dryers and clothes dryer venting. And I did it, you know. Now I got to tell a story about certification. This is why I'm not keen on certification, and please forgive me, but I just have to tell you the story. A gentleman that's a guru in this field of gas venting and what have you, he's been on the show several times as my guest host. Great guy, very knowledgeable. He called me up and he says, Ray, you need to be certified in dryer venting. I says, okay, what for? To give you more credibility. I says, really? So if I was certified, I'd be more credible, is what you're telling me? Yeah, it would. It would look better on your credentials. Okay. I said, who, pray tell, is going to certify me? Well, I could proctor that. Oh, you can certify me on dryer vents, but yet I know dryer vents up one side and down the other better than you because you've never done. I know you know venting, not take anything away from your brilliant mind and you're a bright man, but you're going to proctor me in a certification and certify me in dryer vents. He said, that's correct. And I said, and how much would that cost, pray tell? Around $450. So I'm going to pay you to proctor me, to certify me to be more credible. Are you kidding me? And that's where I said, no, thank you very much. Here's another example of how we take certification too far. That certification would not make me a better dryer vent person. It just makes me look better. No, thank you. Because what makes me look better is doing my job very well. Wouldn't you agree?
Mm-hmm.
The fact that I'm certified
Do it.
or anybody certified does not make them better. The craft, the art, the work ethic, their attitude, their drive, their motivation, that is what makes them good. Am I right or wrong?
Yeah, I mean, I understand what you're saying there and agree with you. I mean, that was just taking a certification and giving it to you when you've already backed up everything that you know about it and you were sharing
But
your...
we're teaching now to put tools in schools.
Okay.
How to put tools in, how do students know about apprenticeships?
They don't until we talk about them.
Until they know about them,
Mm-hmm.
right? They could be a great electrician.
Don't know until they try.
But they could be a great electrician. But you can be a great electrician and not be a certified electrician or a journeyman or an apprentice. You can still be a great electrician. My father proved that to me.
Really?
My father was not an electrical contractor. He worked for other companies his whole life. But he was an exceptional electrician, not only in residential and commercial, but service troubleshooting. See, that's where the true art of any craft comes in, is troubleshooting. And he was known for his troubleshooting capabilities and control wiring capabilities. Like Ron Helms, Helms Electrical and Contracting. Ron loves control wiring. Well, that's a specialty niche in itself. You know. So, but you don't have to be certified to be great. It won't hurt to get credibility and certification. I'm not saying don't get it. I'm saying it doesn't make you the king.
I understand.
It doesn't make you great. It gives you more credibility if you need it, you know, in the trade or craft itself. But a lot of people don't, you know. So, all right, I got to talk about my sponsors a little bit here, folks. We do have sponsors. We got to pay the bills. And once again, the show's brought to you in part by Queen City Home Store. Been in Charlotte since 1952. Your go-to home store appliance dealer. Great prices. QueenCityOnline.com. Go online. You can shop there. Give them a call. Their prices, they'll beat any price out there, guaranteed. And we can't forget Rhino Lift. Rhino Lift Foundation Solutions. If you've got foundation issues, crawl space issues, water intrusion, waterproofing issues, retaining wall issues, sunken slabs, sunken sidewalk, sunken patio. If you've got any of these aforementioned things, you may want to call Rhino Lift, go to rhinoliftfoundations.com. That's rhinoliftfoundations.com. A great company. They're not out to sell you. They're out to educate you. You'll make the decision on what and how to do it right. So that's rhinoliftfoundations.com. All right. And we can't forget Floor Coverings International, Southeast Charlotte. They do a great job. They'll come to you. So watch out, boy. You're getting in my camera there a little bit. So, all right. So there's my sponsors. And once again, we're on every week. Every Tuesday, we do this show live, broadcast on YouTube Live, Facebook Live, both puttoolsinschools.org, as well as About Your House Radio. And I got to speak of something here. I'm learning. You're never too old to learn. My website's so antiquated by aboutyourhouseradio.com.
Mm-hmm.
I went on the line yesterday, had my first day in exercise in editing a website, and I'm getting up to snuff there. And I also, with puttoolsinschools.org, I'm learning that website. So, folks, at 74, you're never too old to learn. Never too old to learn. And I'm getting the hang of it, and I'm going to keep it up. So, therefore, there you go. Now.
But you also got to remember, today's a special day.
Yes, my birthday. Happy birthday to me. Okay. Woo! Woo! Another 74. Yeah, you bet. But I want to talk to you about something.
Ray, real quick, you have a comment.
I got a comment. What's the comment? I can't hear you, Mike. Jack it up.
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you now.
All right. From Jennifer Lynn Barker. Happy birthday, Uncle Ray. Wishing you many more years of happiness and love. Love you.
I love you too, girl. I love your husband, Jeremy. That's Jeremy's wife. Yeah, Miss Barker. Yeah, good woman. Yeah, got to be good pub with him. Okay. Nah, just kidding. Jeremy's a great guy. Jeremy's great. Thank you. What's her name? Jennifer. No, I'm kidding. I don't have much time here. I got to ask him a question. Well, I'm at 7:40. What you got there, boss?
7:35.
There you go. We're right on time. First time at the toolbox today.
Mm-hmm.
I took you a little tour and showed you what our plans are. What do you think?
I'm totally amazed by everything that I ended up seeing. I've been sitting in on some of the board meetings talking about everything going on. And I tell you what, I did not realize until I got the opportunity to come down here and be here live in the studio. Came a little early. Ray met me at the door. And next thing you know, he took me through everything, showed me exactly what's going on. And there's some truly amazing things going on here within this facility.
Well, you know, we're in the early stages, but what we're doing here at the Toolbox is we're creating a connector space. And what I mean by connector space, we're not going to have a curriculum and teach you courses in electrical, heating and air and plumbing and this, that, and the other. But we will put tools in your hands and different tasks and different, you know, things you may want to do in that trade just to get you familiar with it. Electrical, plumbing, heating and air, carpentry, welding, cooking. You know, that's something that kids aren't totally plugged into, you know, on an everyday basis is cooking. And, you know, cooking is something we do every day, and it's very necessary. But kids, do your kids know how to cook?
No, they both know how to cook. Our son is a really good cook, not taking anything away from our daughter, but he, at one point in time, wanted to get into
Culinary. Culinary arts. Culinary arts is another trade, very, very good career pathway. Can be. Not necessarily always. You know, bar food sucks. But other than that, go cook some food. You know, hey, Kevin likes that. But bar food, you know, huh? No, chicken wings fried in chicken oil, seed oils? No, seed oils are horrible. Horrible. Yeah, but I don't do it that often, just every night. You know. Libretto's Pizzeria down in Ballantyne uses tallow to fry in. Tallow's the way to go. Definitely. You give me more restaurants that serve that. That's good stuff. All right. But back to the toolbox here. You see,
it's a very big space, a lot of opportunity, but I think it's going to take an army to be able to help put everything together, and that means volunteers. That means other companies coming on board, being able to help out, because this is a one-man show right now with you, Ray. And I think it's just going to take some time and some effort and hopefully some community support to be able to get everybody in here to be able to make this one facility that you will never forget.
You know, last week I had three gentlemen here, two 19-year-olds and a 67-year-old. Okay, that's three men. Call them what you want, but they were all men. We put up a vent hood out here, a 48-inch vent hood that was donated by Queen City Home Store. Once again, kudos to Queen City Home Store. But they donated a 48-inch vent hood. And wow, Full Gore is the name of the brand, and it's probably one of the greatest, best hoods I've ever put up, believe it or not, and the way it moves the air. But it's tremendous. But my point here is these two 19-year-olds, one's in Gaston Community College and the other one's in his second year at UNCC, and he's taking an electrical engineering course. And at the end of the day, we spent about six hours putting the vent hood up, knocking a whole 8-inch hole through a concrete block wall. And I said concrete block wall.
Yeah.
These are the old concrete block. It was a booger to get through that block. But anyway, these kids never experienced the tools, never engaged in anything like it. And even the 67-year-old gentleman that, Roosevelt Pitts came over here, brought his two nephews with him and brought the kids. But he was just as engaged, just as excited as those kids were. And at the end of the day, I asked him, I said, in your schooling, has either one of you boys, including you if you want to, Roosevelt, handled tools in the manner in which you did today? And the two says, no, never have. I got three. But so they
It is
were
an experience that they're going to be able to take away from with them. But I know I worked for a gentleman one time, went to school to be a electrical engineer. But the thing that I admired so much about him was he was hands-on. He also did electrical work on the side and did landscape lighting,
Sure.
and things like that. He took upon himself to really learn everything he could.
And that's the advantage to the trades. When you learn to use your hands and your mind, critical thinking skills, you'll never be without employment. Never, ever be without employment. Brian, thank you for coming in today.
Really appreciate it, buddy. It's
I
always a
appreciate
pleasure.
you. I
Thank you.
appreciate you coming over and letting me show you the wares of the toolbox here. And next week, hopefully, we'll have a guest here. I'm shooting for a student that's 18 years old, into the trades. Mom and Dad taught him well, and we're going to have that. And this week, remember the weather, folks. We got another front coming through here. If you hadn't sealed up your hose bibs yet, I think you should know by now. Hose bibs, your spigot outside, cover it up, keep it warm, close those crawl space vents. And it's real simple right now to figure out why, because you're letting real cold air into your crawl space. Possible freezing pipes. It doesn't hurt to shut all your crawl space vents. So it's a cold week ahead. Go find your neighbors, spread some love. Yep. Folks, we got a problem here in this country right now. We're all divided. Let's come together. Don't believe everything you see on television, please. It works on your head. I know it's worked on mine. Lord of mercy, we got to spread some love. So go out and make it a great week. Find you a child mentor, or send them to Put Tools in Schools. Visit puttoolsinschools.org. Please see what you can do to help. Be it donate, be it whatever you might find that you can do, but money's always good, whether it's $5, $10, $20, $100, or you can write me a $10,000 check if you want to. That works for me. I'm all for it. But I appreciate your donation, S&N Infrastructure, and all that's helped us out. So go make it a great week. Stay warm. Please behave yourself. Let's act responsibly. And regardless of what TV says, let's just spread some love. Thanks again, Brian.
Thank you.
And once again, next week, Tuesdays, we're on live around noon. Every Tuesday, YouTube Live, Facebook Live, every Saturday morning, Fox Sports Charlotte. Download the free app, stream us live anywhere. Tune us in, 9 to 11, Fox Sports Charlotte. We're going to say goodbye today. Next Tuesday, next Saturday, always Fox Sports Charlotte, about your house. Talk to you soon. God, and we hit the nail on the head.